This is the Benchwarmers Trivia Podcast. We have assembled the world's finest sports and trivia dorks to prove once and for all that we are just as bad at this as we were at sports.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Benchwarmers Trivia Podcast, sports trivia for those of us who rode the pine. I'm your host, Walling, and today's game will be pitting the Benchwarmer team of Matt and Markkus versus Benchwarmer David Lux and returning player and assistant coach, Adrian Bias. Welcome back to the bench, Adrian. Take a minute to remind us of where you're from, what teams you root for, and anything else you want to share.
Yeah, I'm glad to be back. I'm a fan of all the local teams here in Maryland, except for the football teams, surprisingly. And I'm a Raider fan, so that's either a gift or a curse. And I'm just, I'm hopefully have some fun answer these questions today.
Yeah, you've got quite the division this year.
It's going to be interesting.
Yeah. I inherited the Raiders from my dad, so they're my second team. So yeah, I'm excited.
All right, and Mr. Lux, how are you doing? Let us know what your and Adrian's team name is going to be.
I'm good. I just met my teammate here just a few minutes before the podcast, and we were chatting before we started recording about the best Twitter follow there is. That's the Iron Cheek, and decided we had to do something in our team name to honor such art. So our team name tonight is going to be Break Your Back in the Camel Clutch.
And for those of you following along at home, that's in all caps.
Definitely, but I don't have the nerve to scream it each time, but I'll make you do that as the host.
Me either.
Put you in the camel clutch, Bubba.
All right, Matt and Markkus, how are you guys doing? And then let us know what your team name is going to be.
You first? You want?
Sure.
Okay.
Sure.
Well, I'm excited because the Wild made a bunch of trades, so probably by the time this episode comes out, they'll either have lost in the first round or are not doing so good, whatever. But anyway, they got probably a Hall of Famer goalie with the flower between the sticks. So I'm excited for the Wild, but we'll see how that goes. And I had a fun weekend in Kansas City where I got to hang out with Mr. Walling for a couple hours. So yeah.
We drank all the beers.
You drink the beers, I drink other stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Matt drank all those. Speaking of, Markkus.
What was that? Speaking of drinking, is that what you
No,
meant?
I was speaking of I was going to say, what's you guys' team name today?
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm doing well, by the way. I went and saw the Kraken in person for the first time, and they were down 2-0 in the third period, and they scored 4
Nice.
unanswered. So that was a lot of fun. And then we traded everybody away. Well, not everybody, but a few guys. So we'll see how it looks next year, but excited for Mariners baseball to start. And so in honor of your guys' fun little weekend, and Matt so eloquently before the show told us that he loves a whiskey sour with orange liqueur. I love orange liqueur. It's fantastic. So our team name today is a Clockwork Orange Liqueur.
All right. 2 back-breaking team names. Camel Clutch and a Clockwork Orange Liqueur. Now, let's kick it over to Dan for the rules.
We'll be starting off with the coin flip question to warm up the teams. This will be followed by 4 quarters of play, each with a different trivia style. The styles of quarters 1 through 3 will change from show to show, and I will explain them as we go along. Like any good sporting event, we will have a halftime show after the second quarter with entertainment questions pertaining to sports. And in the fourth quarter, our teams will wager from their points accumulated to see who are today's clipboard captains, to be honored like the true benchwarmers they are. All right, let's get this game underway.
It's time for the coin flip, a 50-50 warm-up question worth 10 points. Today's coin flip question will be going to our guest and his teammate. So today's coin flip question is, which MLB team founded in 1998 has more regular season wins in their franchise history? Is it the Arizona Diamondbacks or the Tampa Bay Rays?
I'm trying to think. What do you think, David?
I don't know. I mean, so my first instinct is them, and the Diamondbacks at least won a World Series, but I feel like Tampa Bay has been consistently better. But
When they first started, weren't they awful?
yeah, they were awful for a while, but they've been consistently good I don't know. My instinct still tells me the Rays, but only because the Diamondbacks have been so awful. They were god awful last year. Geez, I don't know. I mean, it's a coin flip.
Yeah.
I mean, my gut tells me the Rays, but I wouldn't put any money on it. Your feeling? What are you thinking?
I think that it's close, and I agree with you with the Rays, but I think the Diamondbacks might have like a small advantage over them.
Let's go with that. I'd have no strong feelings. Let's go with that.
Okay. We're going to check in with the Arizona Diamondbacks.
Okay. So the Tampa Bay Rays have won 1,826 games in their illustrious career or franchise history. The Arizona Diamondbacks have won 1,840. So the correct answer was the Arizona Diamondbacks.
Nice. Well done.
Okay, after the coin flip, we have a score of Break Your Back in the Camel Clutch with 10 and a Clockwork Orange Liqueur yet to get on the board.
Before we get to the first quarter, we wanted to let you know that we are on Patreon if you'd be interested in supporting us financially. Your contributions will be used to help us cover the costs that it takes to bring you the high-quality sports trivia you have come to expect from us. There's also some great perks that come with the Patreon membership to the Benchwarmers Trivia Podcast, including bonus episodes and Benchwarmers swag. You can find us at patreon.com/benchwarmerstp. Thanks.
And today's first quarter will be Flop, Turn, and River.
Flop, Turn, and River. For this quarter, there will be 3 questions consisting of 5 clues. The first 3 clues will be given before the teams decide if they want to check in with their guests. The last 2 clues will be given one at a time, with teams deciding if they want to check in with their guests after each subsequent clue. If a correct answer is checked in after the first 3 clues, the team will receive 50 points. After the 4th clue, 30, and after the 5th clue, 20.
On to question number 1. What am I? I am currently located in a facility adjacent to Allen Fieldhouse in Lawrence. Clue number 2. I originated in 1891, but was published in 1892. Clue number 3. I was purchased at a Sotheby's auction in 2010 for $4.3 million.
We can check in.
All right. The Clockwork Orange Liqueur has checked it. And the Camel Clutch Boys, you guys can talk it out or let me know if you want another clue.
So Adrian had sent me the rules for basketball. Do you know for sure that they were, I mean, the way he says published in 1892, that makes sense. And if any place they were going to be, the Allen Fieldhouse in Lawrence, Kansas would seem like a historical place. But do you know for sure? I don't remember hearing them that they were sold. So that was a little bit of a throw to me, but
I think they were. I remember seeing like a 30 for 30 or maybe a 30 for 30 short on that.
Oh, well, that would make sense then. I mean, so you want to say like the original rules of basketball, or whether the Naismith's original 13 rules or whatever it was called? I don't know how specific we have to be. Do you want to say? Do you want to go with that Naismith's rules of basketball?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it makes all the sense in the world, and it seems like something that could go for a lot of money. All right. Should we check that in?
We check that in. Go ahead.
Okay, we'll check in with Naismith's rules for basketball.
All right. And Clockwork Orange Liqueur, what did you guys check in with?
Yeah, Adrian is 100% correct. This was a 30 for 30. If I recall correctly, the original rules were taped up on a wall in Springfield, Massachusetts, in the original gymnasium where Naismith was the coach, and the Naismith family wanted it to be in Kansas, where he was the coach later, right? That's how that works out. And then the family did everything they could, because this was years after he had passed away. So the family did everything they could to make sure that because the original rules were sold at some point or something. The 30 for 30 tells a story. I'm going to shut up. Yeah, the original rules of basketball.
Okay, both teams will be receiving points. The other clues that I had was I am a list of 13 things and was created to help distract a rowdy class during a harsh winter. And clue number 5, some of those 13 things include a foul is striking the ball with the fist. A player cannot run with the ball, and a goal shall be made when the ball is thrown from the grounds into the peach basket. It was purchased in 2010 by David Booth, a Lawrence resident who got 2 degrees from KU, a bachelor's in economics and a master's. Paid $4 million for it, and then they built what's called the DeBruce Center, which is adjacent to Allen Fieldhouse, and you can go in and see the original rules. It's really neat. Question number 2. Who am I? Clue number 1. I played for 5 different teams in my Major League Baseball career that included 12 All-Star Game selections, but the majority of my career was spent with 2 of those 5. Clue number 2. My jersey was purchased for the highest ever price paid for a modern MLB jersey in 2017. Clue number 3. I am the godfather of Zakk Wylde's son. Zakk Wylde is the lead singer of Black Label Society.
We are willing to take another clue.
All right. Clockwork Orange Liqueur will be taking another clue. Break your back in camel clutch.
I think we want another clue.
Okay. Both teams moving to clue number 4. I hit .278 during my stint with the Marlins, but was unable to muster a home run in any of those 5 games.
We're going to check in.
All right. Clockwork Orange Liqueur is checked in. So break your back in the camel clutch. You guys can talk it out.
Yeah, so the 5 games with the Marlins brings me straight to Mike Piazza because...
Me too.
Okay. So I don't know what you remember about that, but I remember he was traded from the Dodgers, who were dumping salary, and then the Marlins immediately turned around and traded him to the Mets because they were dumping salary. So it was sort of a combination of moves. Why he would be the highest paid ever jersey. Okay, and the other question is 5 teams. He definitely played for the Dodgers,
Marlins,
Mets. And I think towards the end of his career, he played for Padres and A's, maybe. It was back to the West Coast. I want to say it was the Padres and the A's. And the A's would make sense because he might have DH'd by then. So the 5 teams does make sense for him. Are you all right with checking in with Mike Piazza?
Yeah, I'm good. Yeah.
Okay, we will check in with Mike Piazza.
Okay, and the Clockwork Orange Liqueur, what did you check in with?
Yeah, I so elegantly said, Dodgers, catcher, Mets. And Markkus is like, oh, yeah, I know people's names.
Well, and on top of that, I started off thinking this could be, I immediately went to a catcher, but it was Pudge. And then I was thinking about it and I was like, but why would the jersey didn't match up with me. And then once you said Dodgers catcher, I was like, oh yeah, this is absolutely Mike Piazza. So that's what we checked in with.
Clue number 5, my brother's godfather did my family a favor by drafting me to his longtime team with the 1,390th pick in the 1988 MLB draft. And that is Mike Piazza. So the most expensive or the highest price ever paid for a modern, now mind you, it's modern MLB jersey, not a Babe Ruth, not a Lou Gehrig, not something like that, was for the jersey he was wearing when he hit the famous home run after the September 11th attacks, the walk-off home run. It is now alternates between the Baseball Hall of Fame and the 9/11 Museum. And it was bought by like Anthony Scaramucci and a handful of investors that bought it because they wanted to keep it in New York back and forth. So that is the most ever paid for a modern MLB jersey today.
Huh, that's really cool.
Let's go on then to question number 3. Who am I? Clue number 1. I was once a minority owner of the Sacramento Kings, but sold my stake in the team in January of 2022. Clue number 2. I was pranked on an episode of Punk'd, where a cast member accused me of stealing their parking spot before letting the air out of my tires while I was inside eating at a restaurant. And clue number 3, I am an unlockable fighter in UFC Undisputed 2010, although they lowered my weight to 280 pounds.
You all right with that?
Yep.
We'll check in.
Okay. Break your back in the camel clutch has checked in. So, Clockwork Orange Liqueur, you guys can talk it out.
Okay. All this sounds so familiar.
I don't know anything about 2 or 3. The only one I'm going off of is 1, and it's really just a wild-ass guess.
Okay. Throw it at me.
I thought I heard that Shaq was a partial owner of the Kings at one point.
Sure. Punked would work for Shaq.
But those don't lock anything down for one or two or three for you?
No.
All right, then I think we need another one then. I mean, it's just a guess then, so.
Yeah, that's fine. We'll take another one.
Okay. Clue number 4. I am on the board of directors at Papa John's and own 9 of their stores in the Atlanta area.
Yeah, it's Shaquille O'Neal. We can check in with that.
Okay. Break your back in the camel clutch. What did you check in with?
Oh, I knew that I got this off of actually Clue 1 and 2 because I remember the Punked episode that this happened on, and it's definitely Shaquille O'Neal.
All right. Clue number 5. I averaged 23.7 points, 10.9 rebounds, and made 52.7% of my free throws in my 19-year career. Beginning in 1992-93, the correct answer was Shaquille O'Neal.
I saw a 3-second YouTube video the other day that was titled as every single 3-point that Shaquille O'Neal ever made.
He was no Manute Bowl, that's for sure.
My flavor text. Did you know Shaquille O'Neal is a Freemason, proving that the Illuminati is indeed real? All right. After the first quarter, we have scores of a Clockwork Orange Liqueur with 110 and Break Your Back in the Camel Clutch with 140.
Support for the Benchwarmers Trivia Podcast is brought to you by Manscaped, the best in men's below-the-waist grooming. Their products are precision-engineered tools for your family jewels. Join over 4 million men worldwide with this exclusive offer, 20% off and free worldwide shipping with the code BTP at manscaped.com. 4 million men, 8 million balls. You know what to do. Let me tell you guys a little story about living in a house with 5 other dudes and sharing one bathroom and trying to find the time to, this is pre-Manscaped, finding the time to do some maintenance. It's not fun. Lots of nicks, and those are frightening, to be completely honest. Mm-hmm. But with Manscaped, you don't have to worry about that. It is designed to reduce nicks, snags, tugs. It's fantastic. I've been using it for years, and now that we have this awesome opportunity, I'm very excited to share it all with all of you. Get 20% off and free shipping with the code BTP at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com and use code BTP. Unlock your confidence and always use the right tools for the job with Manscaped.
All right. Today's second quarter will be the odd one out.
The odd one out. For this quarter, there will be 3 categorized questions containing lists of 6 items. The teams will attempt to choose the item from the list that does not fit the given category. Each question is worth 50 points.
For today's odd one out, we have a very special Women's History Month edition. So these will all be questions about women's sports. Take that, Eid. Okay. Question number 1. Which is the odd one out of the top 5 teams not named UCLA, current leader with 12, with the most NCAA Softball College World Series tournament championships? So UCLA is first, and then the next 5 teams are, which one is not one of the next 5 teams? So number 1, Arizona State. Number 2, Alabama. Number 3, Arizona. Number 4, Texas A&M. Number 5, Florida. And number 6, Oklahoma.
All right, we're going to check in.
Okay, Break Your Back in the Camel Clutch has checked in. So Clockwork Orange Liqueur, you can talk it out.
So if UCLA has 12,
Mhm.
I'm thinking that the bottom of this list is going to be like a bunch of schools with like 2 and 3 or something like that. I don't know, just guessing, but
Probably fair. But so like I said, my gut is Arizona State because, like I said, with Arizona they had Jenny Finch, and
yep.
but that also to me is that a red herring? Like, is that because we know Jenny Finch went there? Is that the one? But since I've been paying attention to UW softball, which is like the past like 5 or 6 years, I don't ever remember Arizona State being that good. And then again, my fear is that maybe they were good a long time ago, and I just don't remember that. But I mean, every year, I mean, Florida had that Churchill girl that pitched for them very recently. That was really, really good. I mean, Oklahoma, I think they won last year.
I was going to say, I thought they won last year or something like that.
I'm pretty sure. And they're always very good. I don't know. I think my gut's Arizona State. I don't really have a ton of logic to get off of that.
Let's go with it. If you got just a little bit of something, let's go with Arizona State then.
I'm basically just going off of who I remember seeing in the College World Series like a lot. And I don't know if that's good or bad. So I guess we'll just go with it. We're going to check in with Arizona State.
Okay. And break your back in the camel clutch. Which did you guys choose as the odd one out?
Well, we were down to Arizona State or Alabama, and I think it sounds like our conversation was shorter but very similar. I thought that Alabama was we sort of focused on those because they seem like good distractors. We know that Arizona's on the list. We thought maybe Arizona State was, but ultimately we went with Alabama because it seemed like even better distractor.
One team will be receiving points. The correct answer, with one title in 2012, was Alabama. Arizona State won their second in 2011. So 1 year before Alabama won their first. Going down the list, Arizona with 8, Oklahoma with 5. Also, they pretty much have home field advantage in all of these because they play the College World Series at their stadium. Arizona State with 2, Florida with 2, and Texas A&M with 2. Both of Texas A&M's being in the 1980s. Question number 2. While UConn and Tennessee have 11 and 8 NCAA basketball titles respectively, there are 5 teams tied behind them with either 3 or 2 championships. Which is the odd one out? Number 1, USC. Number 2, Louisiana Tech. Number 3, Stanford. Number 4, Texas Tech. Number 5, Baylor. And number 6, Notre Dame.
You good with that?
Yeah, we go ahead and check that in.
Okay. Break your back in the camel clutch is checked in. So Clockwork Orange liqueur, you can talk it out.
Okay. So
we both agree that Notre Dame and Baylor, or at least Baylor, is up there. We agree on that, right?
Yeah, Kim Mulkey won 2 or 3 while she was there.
And I remember Notre Dame winning a bunch. I don't know. I want to say like way back in the day, like 70s and 80s or 90s or something like that. I can't remember.
Well, and they won one recently with.
Oh, did they? Okay.
Arike Ogumbawale. She hit those 2 game winners in back-to-back games to win the championship. So that would put them at least, we're saying 2 or 3.
So, okay. So then USC, is it just me, or I thought USC won a bunch like in the, maybe not a bunch, but they won some with
Cheryl Miller.
Cheryl Miller. Yeah. In the early 80s, mid 80s.
I don't know. It's just something that's missing for me. I don't know if they won while she was there. I mean,
No, I know for sure they did.
Okay.
They won for sure. This is why I think it might have been 84, the year that she won the gold medal in LA. They also won the national championship that year. I think I remember hearing that stat one time.
Okay.
But that was 2. I'm not saying that that's for sure, but that I think they won at least 2, maybe 3 in the 80s.
Okay. Well, if you think that, then that means that they're not the odd one out.
Yep. And Louisiana, for some reason, why does Louisiana Tech sticks in the back of my brain as being good at some point, but I can't remember when.
I think they won 2 in a row. This was also a back in the day one. I feel like we had a question that was something about college national championships, and I think we have Louisiana Tech. I think there was something that's tickling my brain about Louisiana Tech winning multiple. So that leaves us with Stanford and Texas Tech. I don't know enough about Texas Tech women. Stanford's always really good, but maybe that's just it, is that they're always really good, but I don't really recall a ton of times where they win. They've always been like a 1 seed. They've been a 1 seed a ton of times. They had the Ogwumike sisters. They had them for a while, but I don't know that they won while they were there. That's my lean. My lean would be Stanford, I think,
as being
the odd one,
being the one that does not. Oh, I did a question, so I'm very confident that they won at least one, because I did a question once about Stanford, and like they've won something like 124 national championships or something like that or whatever, and women's basketball was one of them. So, you made the call. You said Stanford, you think, is the one that's not on the list?
I made the call last time and we got it incorrect. So
okay, well, let's go with mine then. Let's go Texas Tech then.
Okay.
What difference does it make? Okay. We're going to check in with Texas Tech.
All right, and break your back in the camel clutch. What did you guys have?
Oh, well, I knew that Stanford had won, I think, in the early 90s, and they won last year. So, and I also knew that Texas Tech only won. I knew that Texas Tech had won one, but I didn't know they had won more than one. So we went with Texas Tech as well.
Both teams will be receiving points. Well done. It is correct. Adrian hit it right on the head. Stanford did win last year. Stanford has also won. Let's see. Sorry, I just had this pulled up.
Had to be the early 90s, right?
90 and 92.
So they won 3 times.
Yeah, so they have won 3.
All with the same coach, Tara Vanderveer. She's been there for seems like a million years. Yeah.
So Baylor with 3, 2005, 2012, and 2019. The Stanford years, Louisiana Tech, 1982 and 1988. Notre Dame, 2001 and 2018. And USC, like you mentioned, 1983 and 1984.
83 and 84.
Texas Tech, 1993 with Cheryl Swoops, which was also the only time that they have made a Final Four.
See, that's why we had to go with your answer. I wasn't as confident. Great job.
Blind squirrel once in a while, bro.
All right. On to question number 3. Which is the odd one out of the top 5 players with the most career goals for the U.S. women's soccer team? Number 1, Alex Morgan. Number 2, Christine Lilly. Number 3, Carly Lloyd. Number 4, Abby Wambach. Number 5, Megan Rapinoe. And number 6, Mia Hamm.
Look what I just put.
Yeah, because all
right, we're gonna check in.
All right. Markkus must have just typed another long message because break your back in the camel clutch. He's just checked in.
I was waiting for him to say, "Did you read what I wrote?" And then I decided to check.
All right, Clockwork Orange liqueur. You guys can talk it out.
Yeah.
I think we're pretty. I think I was ready to check in, and I think we were about to check in, but didn't get that opportunity. So, Matt, you said you did a question similar like a year ago or something like that.
Well, I did a thing about, because somebody had just passed somebody on the list, and I think I had wrote a question about, because I think like Abby Wambach was close to passing somebody, and so I did a question not about her but about this, and I do remember that Carly Lloyd is pretty high up there, and Christine Lilly I think might be the highest.
I think Wambach's the highest. I think when she retired,
I think you're probably right.
the,
I know she had like 2 World Cups where she was just crazy. She went nuts.
when you're looking up 5-on-3s, you tend to just go through certain lists. And I think we both settled on the fact that we don't think Megan Rapinoe is in the top 10.
Yeah, because she was a
Or,
midfielder.
I mean, not in the top 10, in the top 5.
Yeah, she's a midfielder. And so she wasn't. I mean, she's probably one of the best midfielders in the history of the game, but she's. I don't think she wasn't a prolific goal scorer.
So let's say she's number 1 in goal celebrations, but she's not in the top 5 here. So we are going to check in with Megan Rapinoe.
Okay, and
Break your back into camel clutch.
what did you check in with?
Yeah, we had the same logic. I feel like number 1 was Abby Wambach. Mia Hamm is pretty high up the list, although for a brief time I thought she was going to be like the ultimate distractor, but I feel like I've looked at this list before, so I'm pretty sure it's Megan Rapinoe. I'm sure it's not Marcus's fiance, Alex Morgan.
Ugh.
So
I don't know what she's doing with a kid and like a husband, but one day.
Anyway,
She's
we checked
missing
in.
out. That's what she's doing.
We checked in with Megan Rapinoe.
All right. Well, I can tell you that Mia Hamm is the all-time leader in assists, and also the number 2 all-time leading scorer. So she is definitely on this list, but both teams will be receiving points. The correct answer was Megan Rapinoe. And yes, you are correct. She is a midfielder. She has scored 62 goals, which keeps her relatively low, number 10 overall on the list, but not the top 5. Abby Wambach with 184 goals, an average of 0.72 goals per game. That's pretty prolific. Mia Hamm, 158. Carly Lloyd, 134. Christine Lilly, 130. And Alex Morgan recently passed Michelle Akers. She has 115 goals. Akers had 107. All right. Well done, everyone. Look at that. Look at all the points. Look at you and loving women. At the end of the second quarter, we have a score of a Clockwork Orange liqueur with 210 and the Camel Clutch breaking their back slightly with 290. Still anyone's game.
We're scrambling for that bottom rope right now.
You are reaching for that hot tag. That brings us to halftime.
It is now time for the halftime show. There will be 3 entertainment questions pertaining to sports, with each question worth 25 points.
Because I can't be bothered to think of things that have multiple ways that I have to research them. I have decided to do another theme halftime. This one is all sports songs. Yay, sports music. Oh, wait. It gets better. Thank you for all your groans and your head shakes in the chat. You guys should be glad this isn't a visual medium. All right, here, starting off with Marcus's favorite band. Question number 1. What foreigner song / album title that many think is about being drunk or high was actually inspired by vocalist Lou Gramm watching a Rangers-Flyers hockey game, seeing the Rangers goalie get knocked out, and then hearing he wouldn't return due to the symptoms he was experiencing?
All right, we're going to go ahead and check it in.
Okay, Clockwork Orange liqueur has checked in. Break your back in the camel clutch. You can talk it out.
All right, so the 2 foreigner albums that I could come up with, both could reasonably qualify as something that could happen to you as a symptom, sort of getting knocked out. The obvious one to me is Double Vision, but the other one is Head Games. So I'm struggling a little bit, but I think it's probably Double Vision. Adrian?
Okay, I'm no help to you on this question. I'm sorry.
All right. You don't have to be sorry, but we'll see if it's right or not. All right, we will check in with Double Vision, and I'll spare you because it's now running through my head, probably for the next rest of the game. So.
Okay, and Clockwork Orange liqueur, what did you check in with?
Yeah, so I didn't even think about Head Games, but yeah, the first thing that popped in mind was Double Vision. So I thought It's got to be that, right? So, yeah, we checked in with double vision.
It's actually 1991's Unusual Heat. No, the correct answer was, in fact, double vision. So the quote from Lou Gramm said while he was recording, he had this dates this reference. He had an 8-inch TV taped inside the vocal booth, and he would watch Rangers games. He said on a play, the play had stopped when Dave Schultz from the Flyers skated in front of John Davidson, the Rangers goalie, gave him an elbow and knocked him out cold. You could say he may have been cold as ice. Every so often, the announcers would come on and say they were waiting for word on the condition of Davidson. Finally, the announcer said, the trainers said they don't think Davidson will be back tonight. He doesn't have a concussion, but he is experiencing double vision.
Okay. All right. We Josh North and I were having this conversation last night about, can you name how many times you were playing sports growing up and you got your bell rung?
Yes.
Which equates to the same thing, which equates to you probably had a concussion.
A mild concussion.
Anytime you remember your dad.
Yeah,
yeah. Hey, you're fine. You got your bell rung.
Yeah.
Like, I'm seeing stars, Dad. I don't think this is normal.
But Dad, my ears are ringing for 3 hours straight.
Good times.
All right.
Just shoot at the one in the middle, right?
That's why, hey, and no joke, like coaching kids now is I'm like, so they'll tell me like what's bothering them. And I go, okay. So if they say it's something with their head, I go, look at me right now. I go, you need to be honest. And I get in their face and I'm like, look, because if you say these words, I have to take your helmet away from you. Just know this. And I go, I don't want you to lie. Look at me and be completely honest. And yeah, it's surprising when you how many of them are just like, yeah, I can't even, like, can't see straight. And I'm like, yeah. Okay. I'll take that. And you have to sit out for the rest of the game. Sorry, buddy. Hand them off to the trainer.
Are you Batman? And if they say yes,
and then they're like,
take their helmet away.
No, I'm vengeance.
They have so much eye black on, it's hard to tell. Okay, question number 2. Very similar genre. DJ Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince, hot off the success of A Nightmare on My Street, released the first single from their album, And in This Corner, titled I Think I Can Beat Who? It was a first single the duo released to be available on compact disc.
Are we gonna?
Yeah, Marcus. Yeah.
Are we gonna 3, 2, 1 this? We don't get to do it very often.
We probably should, but you're gonna do it. You're gonna do it with Adrian. He texted me before I even had a chance.
All right.
All right. Well, then why don't you guys 3, 2, 1 this?
Here, you count us in, Eric.
Okay, ready? 3, 2, 1.
Mike Tyson. I think I can beat Mike Tyson.
That is correct. The correct answer is I think I can beat Mike Tyson. My favorite verse from the song, which I won't rap, but I will read. I came out hustling, sliding and grabbing, slipping and dipping, hustling and jabbing. For a second, I looked good out there. But then Mike brought to reality my worst nightmare. One punch, that's all it took, hit me in my ribs and my inside shook. Now, how can I say this and be a little discreet? Let's just say that my bowels released.
Please tell me you've heard the Lonely Island parody of this.
No, I don't think I have.
Oh my god.
Okay. Homework assignment.
Yeah, homework assignment. Look up the song by the Lonely Island, How I Beat Rocky.
I'd also like to point out, you know who else could beat Mike Tyson is the Iron Sheik. I'm quite certain.
You would call him a jabroni.
Yes.
Absolutely.
I mean, we're all jabronis in the Iron Sheik's eyes.
This is true. Question number 3. Continuing the music theme. What band recorded the 1999 song Crush 'Em, primarily as a hockey theme because they were, quote, sick of hearing Gary Glitter every time someone scored a goal? A shortened version of the song was Goldberg's entrance theme when he returned to Monday Nitro in 1999, and Goldberg also appears in the music video.
Can I just say how much I, as a child, appreciated Gilbert. when the pyro would go on and you'd be like, oh.
Yeah, Gilbert lives around here.
Does he really?
Yeah, he coached one of my cousins in youth football.
Oh
That's amazing.
That is tremendous.
Oh,
I think I could be the Gilbert of this podcast.
He is the simple farm boy of the
David, that means when we do a meetup, I'm going to spray you with a fire extinguisher, whether you like it or not.
Absolutely. I will react appropriately.
Hey, Matt, whatever you got on this, I'm not going to help you. I have no idea.
All right, I'll check this in.
Okay, perfect.
All right. The Clockwork Orange liqueur has checked in, so break your back with the camel clutch. You guys can talk it out.
Well, thus far in our chat, we have had a brilliant exchange where I said to Adrian, I've got nothing. And he responded, me neither. So this doesn't bode well for us.
Not for this question.
No. Maybe we should just not prolong the agony.
While you guys are thinking about it, I have a development real quick. I looked up a Gilbert picture of the people who would stand next to him with sparklers when he came out of the tunnel. Sorry, I got down a Gilbert rabbit hole.
It's the best. Hey, it's the best because anytime you see like a famous segment in wrestling history, there's always like some wrestler who ends up being famous that's just coming up that's in the background, and it's awesome. So there's probably somebody in that picture that's somebody you would recognize as a wrestler now.
Okay, you may continue your
our non-existent deliberation.
Yes, your deliberation.
Adrian, do you want to just completely punt?
I'd just say we go with another band associated with WCW at the time, and we're just gonna check in with. I mean, you have nothing, right?
I have nothing. Go with whatever you got.
We're gonna check in with the West Texas Rednecks.
All right, and Clockwork Orange liqueur. Did you also come up with the West Texas Rednecks?
No, I only think I might know this a little bit because a lot of my Bayern buddies are like listen to like death metal and stuff like that, and I thought I heard them playing this song, and I think it might be Megadeth.
Lead singer Dave Mustaine would go on to call Crush 'Em, quote, one of the dumbest songs they had ever wrote. The correct answer was Megadeth.
Wow. I have no words, Matt.
Nope.
Well done, Matt. And
congratulations.
Adrian, yeah, Adrian, I don't feel bad about that at all. You could have given me all night. I couldn't have guessed that.
Nah.
Yeah.
You could have told me it was Dave Mustaine and I wouldn't have gotten it.
Dave Mustaine. If you would have had Dave Mustaine in the question. So
yeah, I wasn't sure if putting Dave Mustaine in there would be too much. It was also used as a song in the soundtrack of Universal Soldier: The Return. So the video
with Goldberg in it.
Yeah, Jean-Claude Van Damme and Goldberg. It has to be the toughest video in the history of mankind.
Absolutely.
Okay, after halftime, we have a little bit closer score. Break your back in the camel clutch with 340 points and a Clockwork Orange liqueur with 285. Now on to the second half.
We'd like to take a minute to invite you to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at BenchwarmersTP. We also have a Facebook group for fans of the pod called The Bench. Join us there to comment on the latest episodes and share cool sports facts and trivia. If you'd be willing to rate and review us on iTunes or Stitcher, we'd greatly appreciate the support so that other people may find this podcast. Thanks.
Today's third quarter will be Lux versus Goliath.
David versus Goliath. This quarter will consist of 3 pairs of questions, one easier, David, and one harder, Goliath. After hearing both questions, the teams will pick one of the 2 questions to answer, either David or Goliath. Each David question is worth 25 points, and each Goliath question is worth 50 points.
All right. In the same vein, it's just all of these. The easy questions are either brown athletes or from Oregon.
We prefer you either say black or African American.
When you had that pause after Brown, I was like, where's he going with this?
Stop at the wrong part of sentences.
I know you did women athletes for Women History Month, but you're like 22 days late for.
I am. All right. Enough with you, you people.
What do you mean, you people?
All
right. We're done now.
Okay. Or are we? All right. Question number 1. David, name me the 2 current MLB spring training leagues. Question number 1, Goliath. Name me the location of the original birthplace of spring training baseball. It was a subject of the MLB Network documentary, The First Boys of Spring, narrated by Billy Bob Thornton.
Did he do it as Sling Blade?
I like the way you play baseball.
I like you hit that ball.
You pitch that ball to me, please.
Okay, we're gonna check in.
Breaker back with the camel clutch has checked in. So, Clockwork Orange Liqueur, please talk it out.
Question for you, Eric. Do we have to come up with the actual the city?
Yeah, I'm looking for the city for Goliath.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm looking for the city. You don't have to come up with the name of the league. I just want the city, the location.
Yeah. For some reason, there's something pops in my brain about I don't know. Something in Arkansas.
Yeah, I've never seen it. So what sucks?
No, I haven't seen it either, but I think anyway, go ahead.
No. All I'm saying is if you have a semi-strong feeling on it, then you should go with it because your what you've been thinking has worked, and secondly, David and Adrian are very smart, so I'd be willing to bet they answered the Goliath. Well, so if you have a more than 50% feeling, I say we just go for it.
I'm right at 50. So
because we've been treading water, and you've been like, like when we were doing the other flop turn the river, you said, okay, let's take an extra one and get points. We gotta at some point take some risks if we want to try and win. So I say if you are 50 or more, let's do it.
We're gonna check in with Hot Springs, Arkansas,
for the Goliath.
Okay. And Breaker back with the camel clutch. What did you guys come up with?
Yeah, so I said I'm 90% sure it's somewhere in Arkansas, but I can't come up with the name. I started sort of rubbing the side of my head, hoping the answer would come. And then Adrian came back with Little Rock, Fayetteville, Hot Springs. And I said, that's it. It's Hot Springs. So we're checking in for Goliath with Hot Springs, Arkansas.
Both teams will be receiving their points. It has been called the original birthplace of spring training baseball. In 1886, the White Stockings traveled to Hot Springs to prepare for their upcoming season. They had a good season. Other teams started taking notice, and a bunch of teams like the Cleveland Spiders, and so on and so forth. Boston Red Sox. Does anyone know what famous occurrence that changed the course of baseball history took place on St. Patrick's Day in 1918 in Hot Springs? Anybody? It's the first time Babe Ruth played a position other than pitcher, and he celebrated it by hitting a 573-foot home run in 1918. So, turned out they had found something and decided to stick with it. So, he hit it across a street into an alligator farm. So
they also throw the ball at like 83 miles an hour.
Yeah.
Their fastball.
That's true.
But Babe Ruth then proceeded to cross the street, take the alligator, knock him out, pull the ball out of. I mean, you got to build up the legend here.
Yeah, well, no, that was Chuck Norris that did all.
And then he ate him.
right.
And then he ate him, and then that gator's skin became Ric Flair's shoes when he was in the NWA.
Woo!
And that gator was mad because he had all those teeth and no toothbrush.
Dula oblongata.
So I think the second gator having no teeth or all those teeth reference in 2 games for me. So let's keep the streak alive. Question 2, David. The location of this year's Final Four. Question number 2, Goliath. The first city to have hosted the NCAA championship basketball game twice.
Just to clarify, you do mean men's Final Four, right?
I do mean men's. Thank you. Thank you, David. That's very progressive of you.
Let's go ahead and check it in, Mr. Walling.
Okay. Clockwork Orange Liqueur has checked in. So break your back with the camel clutch. You guys can talk it out.
Well, so David is New Orleans. And we're throwing around different ideas for Goliath. The ones that come up for us are, I was sort of proposing a know your host, and maybe it's Kansas City, because that would kind of make sense that they would keep it near Kansas, historically good school and all. The other one that would jump out at me, but it would seem too obvious for Goliath, maybe would be Madison Square Garden in New York. But I don't have a whole lot of thunder for anything on this. What do you think? Go ahead.
I'm trying to think about like the 60s and 70s. I don't know where a lot of those were hosted at.
This goes back to the tournament started in 1939. The other reason I know that is Oregon won the first one. So I know Marcus just rolled his eyes at me. Oregon did win the very first one.
What do you mean?
Hasn't won since. I think Marcus was there. He got beat up at that game. I'm not sure.
But I don't think.
Is this the Oregon Beavers?
Oh, I hope you're kidding.
Nice one, man. That was good.
I'm sorry. They've distracted me. Adrian, what were you about to say?
I was just thinking that in the 60s, they didn't repeat a lot of places, did they?
So I think in the early days, there was a lot more repetition. So in the early days, I think there were a bunch in Kansas City. I think there were a bunch in Louisville. I think there were a bunch in Madison Square Garden. And that was back when the NIT tournament was as important as the NCAA tournament. And teams would actually, and teams would compete in both.
I knew the NIT was a lot. I knew the NIT was bigger. I don't know. Do you want to just go with the Goliath? We know the Goliath. Or do you want to try? I mean, we know the David.
I don't know. I mean, there are different schools of thought on this. We could go for the Goliath because we have a lead, or we could play it safe because we have the lead, right? So we could afford to go for Goliath, is what I'm saying. But I don't know. I really don't. Unless you've got anything on this, I'm pretty sure that if you gave me choices, I would say, yeah, it's either Kansas City or New York or Louisville. It's one of the. It's something like that. But I'm tempted to be honest with you. I guess the more I'm thinking, I think we should just take the points and run and go with the David.
Okay.
All right. So it is New Orleans, right? Isn't that where it is this year?
It's in New Orleans this year. Yes.
Yep. Okay. We'll check in with the David with New Orleans.
Okay. And Clockwork Orange Liqueur, what did you have?
Yeah. So the same logic that David talked about, I was pretty confident that they played in a couple of odd locations, but the first double one would have been Kansas City. I thought, like, if he says it was 39, I thought it was either the late 30s or the 40s. I thought late 30s, but whatever. And then I think it was after that they played in Kansas City that they played almost every year in New York because the teams played in both the NCAA tournament and the NIT. So we checked in with Kansas City for Goliath.
Okay. The David answer, the location of this year's Final Four, hosting for the 6th time, is the New Orleans Superdome. So 1982, 87, 93, 2003, 2012, and 2022. The Goliath answer, having hosted 9 times. Let's see. That includes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 modern Final Fours and 3 original national championship games. Municipal Auditorium in Kansas City, Missouri.
I'm glad you came through with that, Matt, because I thought it might be Seattle. I know they hosted a couple times really early, and I really was racking my brain. That's why Matt was like sending me stuff, and I had my head in my hands, like trying to suss it out.
So I think Minneapolis was one of the early ones, and Seattle is one of the early ones.
They may have been one of the early ones, but so 39 Evanston on the campus of Northwestern was the first Final Four championship game. Then 40, 41, and 42 in Kansas City at Municipal Auditorium. Then 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, and 48 at Madison Square Garden. So, David, not that far off, but Kansas City hosted them before. The reason I had to change it up just a little bit, technically, from 39 to 51, the semifinals were held at the regional sites. So they didn't have a separate Final Four. They just played the regionals, and the regional champions played each other, and then they played a national championship game at a neutral site. So there you go. The more
Seattle, you know. I had to look it up. Seattle in 49 and 52.
Yeah, that would have been the year after New York City. On to question number 3. Question number 3, David. The first fighter to win multiple UFC tournaments during the open weight era. So the open weight era was when they didn't actually have weight classes. For what it's worth, I can also add the year that the open weight era ended, if anyone really wants that.
Are you speaking English right now? I'm confused.
Can you start over, honestly?
Yes. Okay. Question number 3, David. The first fighter to win multiple UFC tournaments during the open weight era. Question number 3, Goliath. The first American fighter to win multiple UFC tournaments during the open weight era.
You want to just do that?
Sure.
Okay, we're going to check in.
Okay. Clockwork Orange Liqueur has checked in, so break your back in the camel clutch. You guys can talk it out.
Wow. All right, Adrian, how's your UFC?
About as good as my death metal.
All right. So
I was half expecting your deliberation from now on to be like
to win multiple UFC tournaments during the open weight era. So when do you think the open weight era started?
Yeah. I think the open weight era started whenever UFC started. I think they went to weight classes after that because it was a lot of big on little fights.
So early 2000s or something like that. I mean, what are you thinking? 2000, late something like that.
I'm thinking 90s.
90s even. Okay. So, all right. So throw out some names. I mean, like I said, unless you know somebody for Goliath, David's got to be somebody that's a big name.
Probably. Let's see. Gracie. Maybe like a George St. Pierre or something. For like Americans, maybe it's either like Dan Severn or Ken Shamrock.
Well, Gracie, you're talking about the Brazilian guy, Gracie, and so because okay, so that would be your proposal for a David answer. You're saying,
right? And for the Americans, like Ken Shamrock or Dan Severn.
So now it's just the all-star team of people who made it to professional wrestling at some point.
Well, yeah, but also they're like UFC names I remember from back. The UFC names I know.
Sure. I mean, I'd be okay with going at Dan Severn because honestly, like you've given me enough doubt that maybe my David thinking is completely wrong. So we might as well go for the Goliath. I mean, do you have any thunder behind Dan Severn?
Nope. It's a name I know.
Well, okay. So why not? I mean, I don't know.
Sure. I'm with it.
Okay. All right. I mean, like I said, if we don't have anything for David, we might as well take a shot in the dark at Goliath. All right. Are you right with checking that in?
Yeah, we check in with Dan Severn.
All right, and a Clockwork Orange liqueur. What did you guys check in with?
Well, I don't like that you named somebody that definitely competed in an open weight era. I don't like that. Because I do know for a fact that the guy who won the first couple of UFC pay-per-views and those tournaments was Royce Gracie. So that's what we checked in with, but I don't like that you said Dan Severn because he was definitely of that era and he's definitely American. So we checked in with the David with Royce Gracie.
So the David answer, winning the first 2 UFC pay-per-views and 3 of the first 4, was indeed Royce Gracie, whose family set up UFC to prove that Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu was the best and invited all different kinds of fighting styles so Royce Gracie could lay on them. The first American to win multiple UFC tournaments during the openweight era, winning UFC 5 and the ultimate Dan Severn.
Oh my God.
Come on.
Oh, what a pull, Adrian.
Wow. Well,
Adrian,
we don't deserve to win this one, Matt. That's
Adrian, you just earned your stripes, my friend.
Oh,
man. Pull, sir. So yes, the first man to compete in the UFC and WWF at the same time, held the NWA and UFC championships at the same time, and two-time All-American at Arizona State and a U.S. Olympic alternate, Mr. Dan Severn. So Ken Shamrock never actually won an open weight UFC tournament. He did fight in some of the like mega fights after.
Right.
The first American to win was a guy named Steve Jenham. And so if you haven't watched one of those early, that's the one where Gracie got so tired in his first fight that he had to throw in the towel.
Mm-hmm.
The semifinal got canceled, and then his replacement ended up going on to win the whole thing.
Yeah, I
literally threw in the towel.
Literally, they walked down, threw a towel into the ring, and then walked back to the locker room. And
that was like the very first one?
It was the UFC 3.
Okay.
Yeah, because Royce Gracie beat the hell out of everybody else because they didn't know what to do. He was wearing a full gi, and he was just choking. He was just laying on people and choking them, basically. And nobody knew what Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu was at that time. They were just like, oh, we're just going to come in here and fight.
Well, for the record, I would have gotten the David wrong. And my teammate.
I wanted you to go for David. We just need to hold steady, and then Adrian pulled out Dan Severn. Once he said Dan Severn, I was like, that's one of the 2 people. I was thinking it was either him or Frank Shamrock is who I was thinking of. But I know Frank Shamrock is the first middleweight UFC champion. So
yeah, the other open weight, Adrian was right. They literally did not have weight classes. Just you had a sumo wrestler fighting a kickboxer and a 200-pound
blood
guy.
sport.
Yeah, it was without the like slanted ring. It was the Kumite in an octagon. So, Matt, do you have 465 to 410?
Yep, 465 to 410. Support for today's Benchwarmers Trivia podcast is brought to you by Manscaped, who is the best in men's below-the-waist grooming. Their products are precision-engineered tools for your family jewels. Manscaped's Performance Package, the ultimate men's hygiene bundle. Join over 4 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped with this exclusive offer for you. 20% off and free worldwide shipping with the code BTP at manscaped.com. If my math is correct, that's about 8 million balls. So To get 20% off and free shipping with the code BTP at manscaped.com, head on over there and get that 20% off and free shipping at manscaped.com using the code BTP. Unlock your confidence and always use the right tools for the job with Manscaped.
That brings us to the fourth quarter.
The fourth quarter, known as Put Your Fours Up. This quarter consists of 4 categorized questions that teams will wager up to 100 points each, not to exceed their current point total.
The categories for today are as follows. Deuces, that is regarding the NFL. Aces, regarding golf. One-eyed, regarding basketball. Faces, regarding boxing. It is now time for the teams to place their wagers. Now that the wagers are in, on to the questions. Question number 1 in deuces. During Emmitt Smith's illustrious career, he rushed for over 2,000 yards against each of his NFC East division opponents. So New York, Philly, Washington, and Arizona. Averaging over 4 yards per carry against each of them. What non-NFC East team is next on his list of most yards against? This does include the playoffs.
Okay, we can check in.
All right. Break your back in the camel clutch. It's checked in. So, Clockwork Orange LaCour, talk it out.
So he said NFC East, and then he named Giants, Eagles.
That's not in what he posted. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because I was sitting there. Maybe he's being cute with the Cardinals,
Right.
that they're no longer an NFC East team. So, okay.
Right.
So teams that because they would have been, as a team that was finishing first in their division, they would have played against teams who were playing first in their division the whole, through most of that middle to early to middle, late 90s. That would have given us the 49ers, Packers.
Well, and at that time, there were only 3 divisions. So there weren't 4.
Yep.
So...
the Bears were dog crap in the 90s.
Yeah.
The Lions were good in the early 90s, but they were never good enough to play them as the number one. The Lions didn't win the NFC Central very often.
No, but they were, they were around the playoffs then. They were.
Yeah, the Lions made the playoffs a couple of times. Well, Rasputin when they had what's his name as their coach?
Wayne Fontes.
Wayne
Fontes, yeah.
Yeah.
Do you want to just say 49ers? I think we both said it.
I think the 49ers seems like the most logical one because there was some turmoil in the Central about teams, Tampa, I think, might have had one good year in there or whatever. But I think 49ers is probably our best bet.
You want to go with that?
I like it. 49ers for 100.
Right, and break your break your back in the camel clutch.
Yeah, when we heard you say including the playoffs, we also thought about, who would Dallas have played in the playoffs if they were winning the conference every year. So we also came up with the 49ers for 100 points.
Okay, I can tell you that Emmitt Smith in 12 games rushed for 776 yards against the San Francisco 49ers. Both teams are receiving points. And the Atlanta Falcons are next on the list and close. He played 8 games against them, but rushed for 740 yards against them. Would anyone like to take a gander at who Emmitt Smith has the best average yards per carry against for his career?
Is it the Buffalo Bills?
It is not the Buffalo Bills.
All right.
Actually, strangely enough, not a great yards per attempt against the Buffalo Bills.
Is it the Seahawks because he broke the record against them?
It's not the Seahawks either.
Is it the Lions?
No, I thought that too. No, the correct answer.
The Rams.
In 6 games, on 89 attempts, 558 yards against the Minnesota Vikings. 6.27 yards per attempt. Question number 2, aces in golf. Which PGA legend currently holds the record for longest time between their first and last PGA Tour hole-in-one? This golfer's first came at the 1974 Los Angeles Open, and perhaps fittingly, his final hole-in-one came at the 2011 British Open at Royal St. George, where he finished 22nd.
We're going to go ahead and check in.
Right, a Clockwork Orange liqueur has checked in. So break your back in the camel clutch. Talk it out.
We were first trying to figure out what qualifies, at least in Eric's mind, a PGA legend, right? So this would, given that the span of the holes in one would be 74 to 2011, that's too recent a stretch to be Gary Player. That's too recent a stretch to be Nicklaus or Palmer. It's obviously too far back to be Tiger. So then Adrian threw out Tom Watson because he had that run in the early 2010s, and I couldn't remember exactly what year it was. And then we were sort of going back and forth saying, but what does Eric mean when he says where you said something about fittingly his final hole-in-one came in the British Open. And so we sort of paused and said, okay, wait a minute, is it an English golfer? Is it a British golfer? And then eventually all of a sudden it hit me that Tom Watson was sort of known because he won the British Open, like, I don't know, more than he won any other major. So we figured it had to be Tom Watson. Oh, sorry, this was how far we got until this point. So we decided right before they did that we were going to check in with Tom Watson.
Okay. And a Clockwork Orange liqueur, what did you check in with?
We had a vastly less intelligent conversation about this. It was primarily me throwing out a bunch of names of people that I knew golfed in the range of the 1980s. And he said, basically, pick one. And I said, Hale Irwin. So we checked in with Hale Irwin for 69 points.
Well, David, the year you are thinking of for Tom Watson was 2009 when he finished second at age 60. So David touched on a lot of the points. One team will be receiving their points. The correct answer is Tom Watson. Tom Watson, 5 British Open. So yes, I would say the guy who's like 6th on the list all time for majors would be considered a legend in golf. 5 Open championships, 2 Masters tournaments, and a U.S. Open. Never won the PGA. He's also won 3 senior British Opens, so 8 total British Open championships between the regular tour and the senior tour. Played in his last Open championship in 2015, where he missed the cut. Question number 3. One-eyed, and this is in basketball. Although fully blind in one eye from a basketball accident that occurred when he was 14, what former Baylor star was nearly drafted into the NBA before being diagnosed with Marfan syndrome? While this diagnosis led to his being deemed unfit for the NBA, he did go on to play 4 years of overseas pro basketball before returning and becoming the number 1 overall pick in the 2021 Big 3 draft.
You can check in, Matt, if you trust me. Okay.
The Clockwork Orange liqueur has checked in, which means break your back in the camel clutch. You have a few minutes to talk.
I can picture this guy because they
see him.
Yeah, they did one of those.
I see him putting on the hat.
Yeah, exactly. They did one of those
7 feet.
Yeah. Yep, that's the guy. They did one of those sentimental things where he went up there with the commish and he wait a minute. I can get there. He's a guy who has he has 2 first names.
All right, time's up. All right. No, doesn't get to no.
Wait,
doesn't get a guess.
We're gonna get there.
I think his first name was his first name like Isaiah or something.
Isaiah Austin. That's his name. Thank you. Perfect.
From now on, David has less than 10 seconds from after the question.
Time is not my thing. My recall is much slower. But anyway, no,
David and Dan both need timers. That's a new rule.
Right. That was short time, just for the record. But Adrian kicked that one straight out of my head. Isaiah Austin, check it in.
Fight of the team on team violence. The breaker back in the camel clutch is checked in. So the Clockwork Orange liqueur, what did you guys have?
How many points did you guys check in for?
100.
Yeah. They gave him the ceremonial hat, wore the goggles while he played. We've also checked in with Isaiah Austin for 100 points.
Ceremoniously drafted between the 14th and 15th pick. Both teams will be receiving points. The correct answer was Isaiah Austin. He was given a job offer by the NBA if he finished his Baylor degree. And after his year in the Big Three, he took up the NBA on that and currently works in the front office for the league. We will head into question number 4, which is faces, and it is about boxing. Which boxer, fresh off of a TKO victory over Ricky Hatton a few months prior, appeared at a WWE pay-per-view event in 2008 and aided Rey Mysterio in attacking the Big Show? While fans didn't love the idea of him being a face, the following night, the Big Show challenged the boxer to a no DQ match at WrestleMania 24, which the boxer would go on to win thanks to the aid of brass knuckles.
No, you can't hide a wrestling question behind a boxing category. Name you Jack Pine. All right. Well,
we can check in.
Oh, well, there you go.
The Clockwork Orange liqueur has checked in. So breaker back in the camel clutch, perhaps somewhat fittingly. You guys want to talk out this wrestling adjacent question that Matt doesn't believe is wrestling adjacent?
He doesn't believe it's boxing.
It was a boxing match, pretty much.
Yeah, Adrian, do you know this one?
I'm pretty sure, if I'm not mistaken, I'm pretty sure that the Big Show at WrestleMania fought Floyd Mayweather.
Yeah, I remember tracking this at the time. I think he was so goofy because he's so much smaller than the Big Show. I was pretty sure he couldn't even reach his jaw. You know, like, I mean, Floyd Mayweather is not a big guy, but yeah, nah. It's Floyd Mayweather 100%. We could have 3-2-1 this one with Markkus.
With Markkus, I know he once he I'm pretty sure it was Floyd Mayweather I knew he knew.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, you're not going to slip a wrestling question past Markkus.
Let's see if we did. Markkus, did I slip a wrestling question by you?
You did not. He was wearing these ugly, like, I want to describe them as like they're like lambskin trunks or something. It's really, or like a fur trunks in this match against the Big Show. But yeah, I also checked in with Floyd Money Mayweather. Let's just say this right now. They mainly did this because for a long time, out of absolutely nowhere, they made the Big Show start doing a punch for his finishing move because he's the Big Show. So he has these big frying pans for fists, right? But the guy never extended his arm. So it always looks so stupid because the guy's clearly not throwing a punch as hard as he can. So why are we even entertaining the fact that he's knocking somebody unconscious with it? It was the worst. So anyways, Floyd Mayweather for 69 points.
Right. Well, it appears I did not slip a wrestling question by Markkus because both teams will be receiving points. Yes, the winner of that no DQ match was indeed Mr. Money Mayweather himself, Floyd Mayweather Jr.
How many did you guys bet on that last one?
46.
Well, the game has come to an end, and here are the final scores. A Clockwork Orange liqueur finishes with a respectable 610 points. And our clipboard captains of the game, who are receiving the coveted and now newly minted Benchwarmer Baker Mayfield Award, is with 811 points is Break Your Back in the Camel Clutch. Yay. Matt, say yay. Do your thing.
Yay.
Hey. All right. Anything you guys want to say before we call it tonight?
Adrian, I love you, man. I always like having you on shows. You're awesome. You were awesome last year in our tournament, and I want you on more often. So thank you for coming on. Thanks for spending time with us. You're the best.
Adrian, this is the last time you're going to be on this show, and you and I aren't playing together. I'm just saying that right now.
Hell yeah!
I'm tired of them keeping us apart. We gotta.
Right. Someone needs to write a show where the two of you can team up against somebody. That team.
I'll try to write a Markkus and Adrian team up show.
Well, I'll tell you this, Markkus, as a teammate, I didn't figure this out until about halfway through, but Adrian has a certain pose that he hits, and if I'm watching on video very carefully, I know he's going to come back with an answer. So I just sit here and I wait. And it's perfect. Adrian,
when he kind of leans back and he kind of looks at it,
yeah.
He's like,
yeah, he looks like he's in this sort of perfectly perfect thinking position, and then I just know it's coming. It's like it's Adrian's equivalent to the Mind Palace. Adrian, it was great playing with you, man. It was. I thought we complimented each other well. You sort of kicked some stuff out of my brain. I think we had some good discussion, and thanks for coming on, and thanks for the support for the podcast. It's always great to have you, and it was great to meet you and great to play with you first time out. So thank you.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. I have fun every time I come on, and David, thanks for carrying me. Yeah, that's about it.
Eric, let me also add because when I was talking about how great it was to have Adrian as a partner, I neglected to mention this was a great game. Really, really well written, great balance. I could have done without the UFC question that nearly broke my head, but thankfully Adrian came strong with that one. But it was a super great game. Thanks for writing it.
Thanks, guys. Yeah, it was a fun one to write. Well, what the hell? I think we're done. Thanks for listening.
Hell?
Yeah, right? What the heck, guys? Thanks for listening to the Benchwarmers Trivia Podcast, and until next time, we'll keep the bench warm.
That ball hit high and deep. Stretch! Get on back there. They look up. You can put it on the board. Yes!
Into deep left center for Mitchell, and we'll see you tomorrow night.
that great music you're listening to is by Justin Nozick. Thanks to him for producing that music for us. You've been listening to the Benchwarmers Trivia Podcast. Make sure to check us out on all of our social media. We are at BenchwarmersTP.